Hello, friends. I am Cowboy Joe Boo, host of the Joe Boo Report, and I enjoy watching Stephen A. Smith and his haterade about the Dallas Cowboys. We should just call the show First Take on Dallas. Today, they did a double take on the Dallas Cowboys, both about Dak Prescott. Let's go to the tape and listen to the haters.
About that backup quarterback situation, it was Dak Prescott who stole the show at the Coliseum, going 10 of 12 for 139 yards and 2 TDs in one half. It's no secret Cowboy starter Tony Romo had his fair share of injuries last season. And we welcome our quarterback, Cassell, back to the desk. Always good to see you.
Good to be here with you.
What's going on, man?
Thank you for being with us. All right, I want to get your thoughts here. So when are we going to see Prescott playing this season?
Oh, Lord.
Listen, we'll see him at some point, I believe. Listen, out of the last 6 seasons, Tony Romo has started 16 games twice, and he's in his mid-30s. The reality is that guys get hurt. He's shown that he gets hurt often. And I will say, with the type of injury that he's had, with these collarbone injuries, you know, when quarterbacks get hit, they're defenseless. It's how they get hit. And one of the biggest challenges is how you land. It's one of the reasons they've changed the way quarterbacks can get driven to the ground. It's an easy way to break your collarbone. I just think with Tony Romo's history with that type of injury, the way quarterbacks get hit, and the fact that he hasn't started 16 games that often in recent history, means we will see the backup quarterback in Dallas at some point. Not because Dak Prescott is better, but because he's most likely going to be the backup.
Educate me about something here, Tim, because I have this problem with, I'm trying to figure out the Dallas Cowboys in this regard. Tony Romo wanted them to buffer their offensive line. Jerry Jones decided to do that. So he finds himself in a situation, or the Cowboys find themselves in a situation where they've been challenged at the backup quarterback spot for years. Is it because Jerry Jones doesn't know what he's doing? Is it because of the extreme amount of faith he's had in Tony Romo and it has not been prioritized? Because we're making a big deal out of Dak Prescott because after one preseason game, because essentially what we're saying is, good Lord, could they please have a backup quarterback for a change, because that's something that they haven't had in recent memory.
Oh, the reality is, I mean, remember, what was it, a week ago, everyone was like, Nick Foles needs to go to Dallas.
That?
Okay, right? So the reality is that it's hard to find 32 starting quarterbacks. So now whittle it down and try to find a good backup. One of the things that's been a big takeaway just watching 1 week of preseason football is some teams look like, okay, you know what, you're all right if that guy goes in and plays. Other teams, you think, wow, this isn't a good scenario. Look, it's hard to find starters, never mind backups. I was one of those guys. I had a preseason game where I completed 14 out of 15 passes. But let me tell you something. It would have been bad if I was playing. It just, I mean, the truth is, it's a hard position. So having 2 guys is difficult. So, look, they had a former first-round draft pick as a backup. It didn't work out. They had Kyle Orton. He decided to retire. It's hard to figure out backup quarterbacks.
And this is why the value of a guy like Eli, who, knock wood, who never misses a snap, let alone a game.
Would Ryan Nassib be good?
We don't know.
I mean,
listen, let me tell you something. Preseason has not been good to him. You know, and it doesn't tell you everything, but it hasn't been good to him. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think if you're Dallas, if you're a fan, you have to be encouraged. It's just a preseason game, but he should have been a perfect 12 for 12. I mean, 2 guys dropped the ball, and one of them in particular was on the money. Yeah, you like the way he managed the game when he had that second and really long and then didn't get carried away. And then it was second and long, a third and long, and they wound up kicking a field goal because he didn't get out ahead of himself. Not to mention the down the field throws, little dink and dunk passes. He showed a good feel for the game and everything. I think it's just a small piece of evidence, but if you need to know what column it goes into, the pros or the cons, that goes into the pros for Dallas.
It's huge. And I think the other thing you would have to throw into the mix is the rookie, first time out there. There was a lot of excitement around that preseason game. It's Monday Night Football.
What about the fact that they're very unfamiliar with him because he came out of Mississippi State and the pro level, meaning the Los Angeles Rams, didn't know anything about Dak Prescott?
I don't think it's that. I think it's more to Max's point about, listen, he made good throws. Look, we saw, other young quarterbacks get out there and not make good throws. I mean, I think in terms of what you can evaluate, what you can evaluate is, hey, here's a guy that came out there, made good throws. There was a lot of pressure associated with that. I don't care, what level you played at in college. When you go in there and you're addressing a huddle with that group of offensive linemen, with the receivers that they have there, with the guys that are playing, and you handle it the way that Dak Prescott handled it, you should be very, very encouraged.
You know, the other thing is, if you talk about the O-line, and I think it was Stephen A., who really emphasized O-line play even over his old man's, desires to draft guy like Johnny Manziel, et cetera. When you 3 out of 4 years draft in the first round O-lineman, and then you have Des Bryant and even, an aging Jason Witten, if the idea is, well, Prescott looked that good because he's behind that O-line and Des Bryant's making those catches, well, that's who will be available to him ostensibly if and when he gets the shot. And given Romo's injury history, it's really when and not if.
Right. The thing I would say about this, and I think it's because everyone's so excited for football to start that you get the first week of preseason and everyone's going crazy about the first week of preseason.
Amen.
RG3 did this, Mark Sanchez did that. These are the situations. Week 3 of the preseason, you won't even remember what happened week 1 of the preseason. You won't.
The one thing I pay attention to when I'm looking at stuff, let's say, for example, let's use Dak Prescott as an example. 4th rounder. I understand back in the day when Tom Brady was playing, he came out 6th round, blah, 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 blah. My point is that the advent of social media, with the technology that has elevated exponentially compared to what it once was, with all the tools available to coaches and beyond, I'm thinking, if Dak Prescott was this, if he was whatever, why did he fall to the 4th round?
Why did Russell Wilson fall?
Those are the kind of questions I'm asking. I'm not saying it to denigrate him in any way. I'm saying I wonder about these coaches. I wonder about these franchises. I wonder about the level of homework and thoroughness that a Tim Hasselbeck may do, but the people he's talking about may not do.
Listen, sometimes you just get it wrong. Well, you mentioned those guys. Right. Look, my brother played nearly 20 years and was a 6th round pick. But you go back and look at him, and he was terrible in college. The truth is, go look at his college
Talking about
stats.
your brother like that?
It's miraculous.
Oh, my God.
I love
the idea to say, hey, I'd like to draft this guy in Green Bay. That's how it works. Look, Dak Prescott, I think there's a chance he would go around earlier if he didn't have, I believe it was kind of a DUI arrest, and I don't know what happened, how that all played out and how people viewed that. Because many people viewed him as a high character guy, and that certainly didn't help in the draft evaluation process. So, I think sometimes it's difficult to get it right based on the offenses you play in, and then, quite honestly, how you fit into the team you go to really matters.
Yep. And that coaching staff, that organization, Tim, love having your perspective.
So they really think that Tony Romo is going to get injured this season and Dak Prescott will play. Well, only time will tell. But now, over here, you see the Sean Lee? You need to click on that so that way you can become part of the Joe Boo Report. I'm Cowboy Joe Boo, and have a great day. Keep spreading the mojo.